Well, tonight is a special night where we can celebrate life and all the life-saving work for the Manteca Pregnancy Help Center. I loved visiting the center yesterday. Everyone there is so welcoming and so happy and joyful, and it was really neat. And the highlight was when a young family walked in, strolling their little baby, and just the little chubby cheeks and the happiness of that child. Everyone lit up, especially the parents. It was really amazing. So I do not know a lot about Manteca. I learned a little bit about almond ranching today. And the area does kind of remind me of growing up back in Montana. The picture with all of us is in Augusta, Montana. My grandparents were cattle ranchers there and just salt of the earth people. And then that's my mom, dad, and 8 kids. I'm the youngest there. We went to Ripon yesterday. That was fun. We went and got ice cream, and everyone knows the name of the store. They all said it. And it was really neat. It kind of reminded me of being back home in Montana where children can roam free and everyone's just all happy hanging out downtown, except for Augusta, Montana, where I was raised, was only 100 people. So it was quite small. And I was raised in a devout Irish Catholic family. I'm the youngest of 8, and we had dinner at 6 p.m. sharp every day and went to Mass 6 mornings a week. So surprise to me, you can imagine how scared I was when I found out at 15 that I was pregnant. And really afraid to tell anyone my secret. So I was standing in the kitchen, and I'm wearing a smock top. It was the 70s and had cherries on the pockets. And I'm looking out of the big picture window on the lawn. My dad's standing out there with a camera, and he's photographing 2 of my sisters and 1 of my sister-in-laws, like pregnant bellies. And I'm thinking, I should be in that picture. Like I had really high hopes for my child and really great dreams, but I kept thinking, I hope my dad doesn't kill me, although he never laid a hand on me. So this is me, pregnant at 15. I was nearly 6 months pregnant, and I'll never forget the night that my mom said, I'm going to tell Dad on the way home from the airport that you're pregnant. And so I did what any other responsible 15-year-old would do, and I called up my boyfriend, and we went and hid in the church parking lot. And about 3:30 in the morning, and I kept hearing my dad's words saying, a baby is a blessing. A baby is a blessing. And this gave me the courage to go home. So I'll never forget, I walked up that long driveway of shame, and I put my hand on the doorknob, and I did the sign of the cross, and I was like, please God, let my daddy be asleep. But the minute that I opened that door, there he sat in his green velvet chair with his pop bottle glasses on, reading his Bible. And I just burst into tears. And he walked over to me, and he put his arms around me, and he said, Mom told me that you're going to have a baby, and we're too old to raise another child. And all I ask is that you pray every day what's best for your baby, whether you place her in adoptive arms or parent with our help. Now get to sleep. You have school in a couple of hours. And he kissed me on the forehead and said, I love you. Since I had hidden my pregnancy and received no prenatal care, my mom took me to the doctor the very next morning. And after measuring my stomach, the doctor pulled her to the side, and they had a conversation that I overheard. It was kind of weird. He said, I have someone ready to buy her baby. Nice Irish Catholic family. The word buy made me very uncomfortable. Let's just say that. So my parents, they deeply believed in the sanctity of all human life. They taught us that every person is made in God's image. And in the 70s, they fought to keep abortion out of Montana, and they won at a state level until it became, as we all know, a federal crime. At the time, my mother, she was a crisis counselor at our pregnancy clinic when I got pregnant. And she thought it would be best for me to move away from my boyfriend and consider adoption. And so they moved me to Bozeman, Montana, and I lived at Merritt Student Housing with my sister. And I don't know if you've watched that show Yellowstone. I haven't, but Bozeman is really, really beautiful. You should go if you get a chance. But there was a lady in that pregnancy center, and her name was Nell, and she showed me books with families that were waiting to adopt. There was a man and a woman, white picket fence, a dog, big smiles on their faces. And although adoption is a very noble option, I chose to parent. But the only thing is, my parents didn't know. So on September 1st, I welcomed my first daughter, 7 pounds, 1 ounces, red rosy lips, and a head full of black hair. And I named her Erica Kane because I was a teenager. And I named her after Erica Kane. I named her Erica Michelle. You know the old soap opera, All My Children? Guilty? Well, that moment, it really marked the moment of our love story starting as mother and daughter. And however, just a few hours after Erica was born, the pediatrician came into the room and he started chewing my mom out. He's like, "Why did you let her have this baby? Why didn't you let her have an abortion?" And then he comes over and he pulls my sheets down and he gets a black marker out and he draws a circle on my bed. And he says, "This is her head, and this is her fontanelle," and something about craniotosis, something. And he said that her head had been fused together prematurely, so that they would need to cut her bones apart and put a helmet on her. And I lost it. For one, he's like, why did you let her have this kid? And I'm thinking, he's going to kill her. So I told my mom, go after him, fire him, and we got to get out of here. So the next morning, we left the hospital, and my mom, devout Catholic family, she had gotten in a little holy roller group, and she became a charismatic Catholic. So she took me to her prayer group. There was 4 ladies that met. And we went to their house, and they circled around me, and I was holding my baby. And they prayed for my daughter, for her head, that she would be healed by Jesus' stripes. And the very next day, Mom took me to the family doctor, and he did a test, and then he was examining her. And to his surprise, he was really astonished because God had healed her head. Yeah. Yeah. She's kind of hard-headed, but other than that, she's a very strong young lady. So from that moment, I really learned what it meant to advocate for your children, especially a mother, when you have God on your side. This is my dad in his famous chair. And notice my baby screaming her head off, and my dad has no care in the world, biggest smile known to man. And my father taught me what it means to be pro-abundant life, inspired by John 10:10, where Jesus says that I have given you life and given you life more abundantly. And this abundant life model, it is based on the most celebrated, unplanned, or at least unexpected pregnancy as far as Mary and Joseph are concerned. And just like them, unplanned pregnancies, many experience fear and uncertainty. But when Mary was afraid, Gabriel went to her and said, "Mary, do not be afraid." And as you know, she welcomed baby Jesus. And even with Joseph, Gabriel again had to go and say, "Joseph, don't be afraid. You're going to marry Mary, and you're going to be Jesus' father." And I really wish more men would step up to be Josephs, step in and take care of the families. And we really need more Gabriels, like at the PRCs, who speak life and say, "Don't be afraid. You're going to get through this." They show them on the other side how wonderful it can be. Malachi 4:6 says that he will turn the heart to the father to the children and turn the heart of the children to the Father. It was kind of a tongue twister. Your center, like they said, is seeing more men who are coming in, taking parenting classes, coming in alongside of their mother-to-be. And I just think that's just incredible how men are stepping up because they're so often pushed out of the scene. And it's the pregnancy resource centers, the PRCs, that step in, wrapping their arms around these women and offering love and support. PRCs have a window to share Christ, nurturing not only the physical well-being, but spiritual growth and fostering abundant life in every issue. Now, I clearly understand from being in pregnancy clinics that not all parents, hardly any, respond like mine did, which is another reason that the support of PRCs is so important. I'm eating the microphone. 2/3 of women say if one person supported them, they would have chosen life. And this is why it's vital for all of us to speak life and to let people know about the center. But my life was far from easy. I was kicked out of my parochial school when they found out that I kept my baby. My boyfriend got another girl pregnant who had an abortion, and her friends were relentlessly bullying me, to say it lightly. And no one warns teens how a broken heart can be one of the hardest things to get over with an unplanned pregnancy. And just a few months after I gave birth to my daughter, I was pregnant again. And after a fight in the park, when I caught him rolling around in the grass with some other girl, I went home, and in the middle of the night, I went into labor. And I went into the bathroom, and I lost a little boy at 22 weeks. This is the size of a 22-week little fetus baby. The youngest baby to survive outside of the womb was just a little over 20 weeks gestation. And now, while miscarriage and abortion are vastly different, I get that. It still breaks my heart to think about the young girls who were given the abortion pill and sent home to go through labor by themselves and to see the blood and to see the baby all alone. They might not be able to call for their mom like I did. And over half of all abortions in America occur with the abortion pill, a do-it-yourself chemical abortion process that combines two medications. After taking the first pill, some women regret their decision and want to reverse it. That's where your pregnancy center intervenes and refers these women to the APR hotline. Using the natural hormone progesterone, medical professionals have been able to save between 64% and 68% of these pregnancies through APR to ensure some new beginnings for mother and child. And it's so exciting to see the moms who regret their abortion, and when they get to see that their baby is saved and has a heartbeat, they just light up. And yes, teen pregnancy and parenting were both challenging. But my baby and becoming a mom is my greatest joy and accomplishment. Yeah. The struggle was real, I like to say, but the snuggle of my baby girl was worth it all. When the community turned their backs on me, it was Jesus who stood by my side. And if you noticed, everyone who helped me was a volunteer at a pregnancy resource center. And that's why I'm so passionate about urging more people to support the life-saving work of these centers. My parents were great role models, helping me to get my baby on a schedule, daycare so I could finish high school at the big, scary public high school, and providing a safe, joyful home and loving environment. Just like my parents did, your pregnancy help center helps women find resources and new beginnings after unplanned pregnancies, guiding them towards their own happy endings or even their happily ever after. This is my daughter, Erica, my oldest. So my daughter, who I was pregnant with at 15, she had a secret teen abortion. And in California, as you know, we have no parental consent, no parental notification. And I didn't know for over a dozen years. When she finally told me, she had already gone through the healing process at a PRC. But for me, it was devastating. When I was home alone, I cried in a fetal position for nearly a week. I was just devastated thinking about what my daughter had gone through. And I'd lost my first grandchild to abortion. No parent or grandparent should ever have to feel this kind of pain. And it's inconceivable to me to know how many mothers take their own daughters to Planned Parenthood or other abortion centers, saying they have their whole life ahead of them. But watching what my daughter went through, the pain she was in, why would they choose that kind of life for their daughter? They have no clue. But sadly, a lot of mothers that take their daughters, they are in need of healing for their own abortion. Yet there is hope in healing. My daughter, she sought her healing and moved through grief to restoration. And eventually so did I. But don't get me wrong, I still want that baby. I have to go to heaven to see her and to see the little boy that I lost. But I want those babies. And recently, in 2012, we started a healing ministry for women who had had an abortion. And we decided to write our own curriculum. So Erica and I co-wrote with our pastor's wife, Redemptive Love, a journey of restoration after abortion. And it's a study for churches and PRCs. And I believe that healing belongs in the church. And PRCs are really busy with the pregnancies. And it's very hard, as you just said, that to find someone that can come in and take women through this process for 12 weeks, it's really difficult. So we're really excited about making that available in a couple months to churches. Erica has a beautiful family, and she works as a social worker in child welfare. And she was a client service director at our clinic in Napa. And she's perfect to speak life to the young girls who are contemplating abortion, because she can let them know the negative things that it caused in her life. And this feels like redemption to me. I mean, it was really hard for me to, I don't even want to say heal from this, but it's been really difficult. Like, it changed our whole perspective on what I thought it meant to be pro-life. And I'm just really thankful now that I'm able to speak on this issue as well. 70% of women who sit in our churches say that they were going to church at the time of their first abortion. These women, they sit in silence, burdened by their secret. Pastors and members of the church are uniquely positioned to offer hope and to speak on the sanctity of life and minister to those hurting after abortion. John 10:10 says that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Abortion is one way that the enemy attacks, stealing life and silencing voices. But it is time to reclaim our voice. I believe it is the healed women and men who will be a big part in ending abortion. Abortion impacts generations, but so does choosing life. And choosing Zoe brings eternal hope. A pivotal moment in my story was when I met the third 12-year-old girl who was pregnant within 1 month at our clinic. Yes, you heard that right. She was 12 years old, and she was the third one. And I don't know about you, but at 12, I was riding a banana seat bike, and I was ice skating. And she had a positive pregnancy test. and I shared my experience of being afraid and young. And there were moments of joy when she saw fetal development and learned about her baby. And then we had prayer over how she was going to tell her mom. And then I had to tell her, and I felt like the worst person in the world, but we are mandated reporters, and it's so vital when adults and professionals get involved. And so I had to tell her that we had to call CPS. I needed CPR. CPS and the police. And her fears diminished as she braced herself for the police to come. And that night I went home, and again, I was kind of crying in a fetal position again. Lord, how can I help? And I'd never even written an article. I've been a professional photographer for over 30 years, school and sports. Never written anything. I don't even read books. And I began to write a book titled Choose Zoe, a story of unplanned parenthood and the case for life. And it was birthed out of compassion for her and every other young girl. See, Satan loves to destroy the unborn. He hates God's image bearers and will stop at nothing to defame the name of Jesus. But to save the unborn is to save both mother and child and restore the family. So many people think that the baby on the arm, on the book cover, that her name is Zoe. But she is one of my granddaughters named Hartley. And Zoe is the Greek word for life in John 10:10, where it says, I have come that they may have Zoe and have Zoe more abundantly. Pregnancy centers, they bridge the gap where families and societies have failed. And my daughter, Amanda, she was told that she would never conceive or carry. She had a really severe case of endometriosis. She had a bicornuate uterus, which is double-sided. And they told her that it would be pretty impossible. Plus, she had closed tubes. So my mom used to come from Montana to visit every January. And we would fast and pray for family matters, for family members to come to Christ. And one of the things we prayed for was babies for those that wanted babies. And after 10 years, guys, Amanda and Jeff welcomed their little baby, got pregnant naturally. Yeah. And now they have 3 babies born naturally in that womb. We were praying for God to heal the womb. He didn't heal the womb. He let her have those babies in that womb. So he's definitely, with him, all things are possible. So it is always darkest before the dawn. I don't know if you saw recently, but a woman pastor who is an escort at Planned Parenthood, she recently preached a sermon. And she said, if Jesus were giving his sermon today, he might also have said, blessed are those who end pregnancies, for they will be known for their loving kindness. She said Jesus would be an abortion escort or an abortion doula. We need to pray for her. And we must unite by understanding that abortion at any stage is demonic by nature. The good news is that we can use spiritual weapons of truth and love. Statistics may show that belief in God has declined and abortion rates have risen, mostly due to the chemical abortion. But take heart. Jesus is the light of the world, and so are each of you. And it is up to all of us to influence the culture so abortion at any stage becomes unthinkable. Our current culture is dangerously watering down the pro-life position from being for protecting all life to being against late-term abortion. Many states have little or no regulation of abortion. Currently, abortion is legal through all 9 months for any reason in 9 states plus Washington, D.C. Those states are Alaska, Colorado, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, New Mexico, New Jersey, Oregon, and Vermont. Late-term abortions, as we know, do happen in our country. It's estimated that 10,000 abortions occur every year at 21 weeks or later. Multiple states do not protect children who are born alive after a botched abortion, including 3 states that actively removed such protections that may permit after-birth abortion, which includes leaving those darling babies on the table to die. I have friends who have survived an abortion, and they are living proof about the importance and the significance of the baby in the womb, that it is indeed a person. No pro-life laws in any state prohibit a woman from receiving miscarriage care or other life-saving medical care. Every state that has banned abortion includes an exception to prevent the death of a pregnant woman, in which case preterm labor may be necessary for the health of the mom and baby. Now, I sought guidance before coming here tonight. And I was asking God, what should I talk about? And we're supposed to be talking about like happy things and happy endings. But this is what he gave me. I felt impressed to discuss the 3 common exceptions that people, even in pro-life circles, often wrestle with in the abortion debate: rape, incest, fetal anomalies, and life health of mother. Hopefully this will give you some ideas about how to use stories to support life in the womb. And if we believe that all life is sacred, and I believe all of us do here tonight, we must think deeply about these so-called exceptions before someone we love is facing one of these situations. Scripture tells us that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, and it's super simple. Jesus brings the blood, and we bring our story. And just like Jesus used stories, you have the power to move hearts and minds towards life. Only Christ can change hearts, but you can move hearts to life. The idea of abortion with exceptions can stir some feelings of hopelessness and cause us to question our convictions. But the heart of the pro-life message is this: life begins at conception. We are all made in God's image, and every life is precious, worthy of love, and protection. If we are firm in our beliefs and work to influence others, we can bring them from being pro-life with exceptions to 100% wholly pro-life, with a fresh perspective, empowered and equipped to advocate for life without compromise. And we must hold fast to our convictions. The first exception I want to address is rape or incest. I'm sure that we have all heard the same words. What if a 12-year-old is raped? Well, I have spoken to many teens who became pregnant as a result of rape and even incest. 2 of the girls stand out to me. Both of these girls tried to take their lives. They tried to commit suicide. But they said that finding out that they were pregnant actually saved them, gave them something or someone to live for. The girl here, she was raped by her father. And she went to live with her grandmother because her mother didn't believe her and actually blamed her for the father going to prison. I was amazed by this girl's ability to forgive her father. A good lesson for us all. She attended church during her pregnancy, and her pastors ended up adopting her newborn son. And she finished high school, and now she sees her son every Sunday at church. And they are living their version of the happily ever after. In contrast, every woman I know who had an abortion after rape has regrets. One thing's certain: Abortion does not heal the wounds of rape. The second exception is fetal anomalies. When it comes to fetal abnormalities or being incompatible with life diagnosis, we must stay strong. I remember being pregnant with my 5th child. The doctors told me that I had an oblighted ovum, an empty, misshaped gestational sac with no presence of life or heartbeat. They encouraged a D&C, but I refused, saying, as long as there is life, I will not have an abortion. And they kept saying, there's no life. You need the D&C for your health. And for a few weeks, there was no life, and my health, they said, was at risk. And maybe someone here in the audience has experienced a loss like this. And my heart goes out to you if you have suffered this kind of loss. But one day, for me, it was the most beautiful sound when a heartbeat was found. And later, the doctors, they said that my ultrasound results showed that my baby's head was too big, her femurs were too short, there was excess amniotic fluid, it was too late to do the amniocentesis, they could have put me into labor, there was a lot of fluid, and they didn't know how mentally challenged that she may be. So I shared the news with my older children, and we agreed that God could perform a miracle, or we would just love a small child. My daughter Mary was born premature with no abnormalities. I know, God's so good. It's crazy. She did have hyaline membrane disease, and when the doctor said she might not survive through the night because her lungs weren't developed, I remembered thinking of all the miracles that had happened in her tiny life inside the womb. And thanks to medical advancements, she received treatments to develop her lungs and is perfectly healthy today. So my youngest, Mary, is a beautician, and she had twin daughters. After her experience with them in the NICU, she is now studying to be a neonatal nurse. Mary and Joseph, I kid you not, I have a sister Mary and a brother Joseph, being raised Catholic, but I never knew any other Mary Josephs. Is there any Mary Josephs here that are married? Yeah, I didn't think so. Well, they're enjoying their little happy family, and she always thanks me for her life. And I remind her that it is God who is responsible for her life. But she said, but if you listen to the doctors, Mom, I wouldn't be here to have my beautiful family. See, miracles and misdiagnosis with fetal anomalies do happen. And if she was born with dwarfism or was mentally challenged, I would not love her any less. No medical condition, whether of the baby or the mother, justifies taking a life in God's image. The third exception is the health of the mother. The word life is the typical term in conversation, but doctors say that abortion is never medically necessary to save the life of a woman. And the word health covers a wide range of reasons for abortion, including the age or the familial situation. The health of the mother is a sensitive topic, especially for the husband and the family. There are times when a mother does face serious health conditions, but taking the life of her child does not cure her disease or condition. In fact, it often makes recovery physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually very challenging. While we know, tragically, mothers and babies do not always survive, the goal is always to save both. And when we place life in God's hands, He has a hand in the outcome. And in Him, there is always hope. As your incredible team here was acknowledged tonight, I'm just so impressed. You have been the bridge of hope, often letting others walk all over you in their most vulnerable moments. You have a unique opportunity to offer hope, healing, and abundant life to those who feel lost. I want to thank you personally for standing for life and for being the hands and feet of Jesus. Yeah. In a world full of noise, all of you exemplify the call to abundant life by sharing the gospel and offering Zoe the divine, eternal, God kind of life. Now, I've been a photographer for over 30 years, and in photography, we focus on what's important to capture what's beautiful. And pregnancy centers do the same thing. When we help young mothers and fathers focus on the life growing within them, they are empowered to choose life. There is both awe and adversity here in sunny California. I love this state. All of my children and grandchildren are here. But it can feel hopeless at times with how hostile the environment is to the unborn. We're sometimes dubbed an abortion sanctuary. Abortion advocates have twisted the words of the Bible, like love your neighbor as yourself and this is my body, to justify abortion. But let's remember that Satan is never creative. He loves to twist scripture. And Jesus reminds us to love our neighbor, and there is no neighbor closer than the baby in the womb. As Christ followers, we are called to disciple vulnerable families. And if we don't, the culture will. The pro-choice movement is well-funded and politically supported. But we stand on the unshakable truth that every life has value, dignity, and purpose. And by supporting both mother, and child, we fight for life and help families where they can find hope and resources to thrive. Our pro-abundant life movement is powerful because it's rooted in love. Love for God and love for neighbors. And now is the time to rise up and use these gifts to boldly serve others and change lives. So the one picture with all the hot pink, those are my grandchildren. And yeah, I know. And the picture down below, those are my kids and their husbands and wives and all the grandkids. Yeah, it's a lot. So our future generations are counting on us, and that's who we're fighting for. When I was 15, when my school, my church, and my community turned their backs on me, my parents believed in me. And it only takes one person to believe in you for you to believe in yourself. And that gave me hope. So today, you have the chance to offer the same hope to expectant mothers, financially, emotionally, spiritually, by backing your Pregnancy Help Center in Manteca. People told me back then, you have your whole life ahead of you and you're going to ruin your future. So, okay, I'm a ruined woman. Can't you tell? Like 13 grandbabies. Yeah, those days were tough, but they taught me and built my character, and they gave me compassion to advocate for the unborn and support parents in need. Parenthood, as you all know if you're parents, does not come with a handbook. But it brings joy and fulfillment beyond words. My future is here, and it's not ruined. Teen parents like me, they can rise above their circumstances. Sometimes they choose adoption, blessing other families, which is a really great alternative to abortion, might I say. My unplanned pregnancy was not the end. It was the beginning. Today, I'm blessed with 5 grown children, 5 bonus children, 13 grandchildren, and I'm a great Grammy. She's 2.5. So the challenges I faced shaped my journey into parenting, business ownership, becoming an author and a speaker, and serving PRCs. My children are also thriving adults. They often say that it's not only hard on the mom who's pregnant, but it's the next generation that it'll affect. Well, they have beaten all the odds. 2 serve in the military. 1 works in child welfare as a social worker. 1 is a pastor. Another is a beautician on her way to becoming a NICU nurse. They are all making meaningful impact in their communities, and I couldn't be prouder. How many of you are grandparents? I mean, it brings a new kind of joy that I never imagined. And then to become a great grandma, I'm trying to get somebody to call me Gigi for great grandma. So I went to Starbucks, and on the cup, I told them my name was Gigi, and then I sat there while they called my name for like 3 minutes. And I videotaped it, and I said, someone's calling me Gigi. My kids are like, Mother, go home, go sit down. And yet, despite all this joy, our work is far from over. I once protested a Planned Parenthood fundraiser in San Francisco, and it was shocking to see them raising millions, even with all the government funding they receive. Meanwhile, PRCs like us may sometimes struggle to keep the doors open. And exciting news that you're in the black. That's exciting. And when women search online to find help for pregnancy, our resource centers are often censored. So we've become the best kept secret, while the culture of death is fully funded. Standing there at that event, I felt like Robin Hood. I wish so bad that I could take all their money and give it to the pregnancy centers that are truly saving lives. And as a small business owner in California, I feel your pain, because it pains me to know that some of my tax dollars fund abortions, especially since abortion took my first grandchild. But I have to remember those weapons of love and to forgive. So I joyfully give a portion of my income to my local PRC because it's the right thing to do and it really feels good. And now is the time to rise up and use our time, talents, and treasures to support this ministry. You were born for this moment, like a modern day Esther. And we must not stay silent. We must speak up and act to save lives. We've seen major pro-life victories, but the work isn't over. And the need to protect life and support women in crisis will always exist. Together, we will continue to empower women, strengthen families, and cherish every child. With your support, we can transform the culture of death into a culture of life. I stand before you today as a former client of a resource center. I am living proof of the transformational work that these centers provide. And it is my dream that no woman, no young girl will ever be shamed by her school or her church or her community. But instead, once there's a pregnancy, the focus must shift to the health and well-being of both mother and child. We must wrap our arms around her and disciple her and the father. Pregnancy centers like this one are vital to help families flourish and build a culture of abundant life. I am passionate about choosing and living the Zoe life, and my desire to encourage pregnant women to carry their babies to term is a huge part of that. Why? Because a baby changes everything. 2,000 years ago, a baby hungry entered the world, just like every other child before her, vulnerable through agony, sweat, blood, and at least a little bit of fear. It was messy, it was brutal, it was beautiful. That baby was named Jesus, and he changed our world and our futures. And nearly 4 decades ago, a baby named Erica changed John. I am passionate about it. It's a looping. When I made that video, it was 7 years ago, and now I have 8 more grandkids. We listened to our parents when they said, be fruitful and multiply. So tonight, I want to thank all of you, the Pro Abundant Life family here in Manteca. Remember, you have the power to make a huge impact in a simple way by sharing stories. When you share your story, you open hearts to the amazing work that pregnancy centers do, offering resources like pregnancy tests, parenting classes, and wise counsel to families in need. When I visited the center yesterday, it was really cool to see they offer classes in both English and Spanish, and I got to see the baby boutique and the mounds of diapers that drive Kara nuts. Your center is seeing more difficult cases also involving CPS, including women with signs of trafficking. Clients ranging from as young as 12 in the past to their late 30s, clients with multiple children, from first-time mothers to those having their fifth baby, clients with various marital relationship statuses, married, unmarried, unsure of who the father is, clients dealing with issues like domestic abuse, drug abuse, homelessness, and involvement with the CPS, and then church kids like me. So without God, an unplanned pregnancy can seem like an hopeless end, but with God, it can have endless hope. On behalf of myself and all the young moms, thank you for bringing hope when it is needed most. Every single one of you makes a vital difference here tonight. And may you be empowered and strengthened by the Lord as you continue to overcome evil with good. Happiness is often tied to circumstances, but true joy comes from pushing past adversity. Many women facing unplanned pregnancies may not see a path to happiness or success, but through your support, we can help them unearth hope and discover new possibilities for their future and their baby's life. And in doing so, they will find a joy that surpasses understanding, allowing them to look back on what once felt like a hopeless time and recognize where God's hand was guiding them. This transformation is made possible by people like you, those who choose to give financially, offer their time, show compassion, and provide practical resources. Just as we appreciate flowers only after the rainstorm, happy endings are possible. It's not about perfection or blind optimism, but rather the deep satisfaction that comes from overcoming challenges and embracing the journey. And now is that time for action. No one wants to stand around and ask for money, but I don't mind. I know that it's like the best thing that we can do with our money, so I'm all for it. And people's lives are depending on us. And with your prayers, which are so helpful and vital, they change lives. And your financial support, we can all help save lives and souls. To donate, you can simply scan the QR code found in your program or on the centerpieces. The QR code works really well for bookkeeping purposes. There is a drop-down menu to select banquet fundraiser. And table hosts, you can please pass out the forms if people prefer to give by cash, check, or credit card on the forms. One thing we ask is that you fill those out neatly and clearly to avoid the need for follow-up calls. And we need two things tonight. A generous one-time donation is always appreciated. And we need new monthly donors to set up reoccurring gifts. Many supporters have moved out of our state. So sustaining this work requires fresh commitments. And if you're already a donor, please consider increasing your contribution sacrificially if you can. Monthly donors are crucial to keeping this life-saving work going. Pregnancy resource centers meet vital needs for vulnerable women that otherwise will go unanswered. Never forget that we are in a winning position because Jesus has already won. But we need to meet some future goals like you heard tonight. There also is a hope for hiring a receptionist. And there's always those operating costs. And we need your help with more finances. Like your board member here said, we can do more things. We can help more people. And volunteers are essential, but the staff, I've been in pregnancy clinics for a couple decades. The staff, they deserve a living wage for their tireless efforts, and they are some of the most underpaid people, and I know. Please pray and ask God what amount He's placing on your heart to give. And remember, we're here to celebrate life and build stronger families, and there is no more important investment than life itself. You can fill out your forms, get your QR codes, and I want to say thank you. Thank you for being so welcoming to me tonight. I met so many wonderful people so far. I feel so welcome, and I want to say thank you. So God bless you and thank you.